Uncertainty can settle over dawn like a mist, leaving you blinking at the ceiling and wondering why your soul feels miles from the God you once sensed so clearly. Yet, in this still moment, as a pale ribbon of light tentatively brushes the wall, creation delivers an awakening whisper. The distance you feel is not a verdict, but an invitation. You are free to make a quiet turning, to lean on gentle trust rather than tired effort, to let fresh morning breath steady the pulse of your thoughts until hope flickers like a hidden flame. For it is written, "Draw near to God, and he will draw near to you." James 4:18-8. This promise assures you that nearness is a gift offered, not a trophy earned. Every step toward him is met by steps toward you. Will you hand over the weight you carry? Anxious plans, dulled dreams, and dare to believe that presence can bloom again. Now, as your heart grows still, we step into the story of your return. You stir in the pale hush before sunrise, when even the sparrows hesitate to lift a song, and you notice how swiftly the mind can drift from wonder to weariness. The sky is a faint canvas of rose and pearl, yet thoughts still circle yesterday's unfinished hopes, questioning whether heaven heard a single sigh. In this gentle margin between night and day, an invitation travels on the first streak of gold. Open the inner eyes as surely as you draw the curtains. The one who flung galaxies across blackness now leans close, whispering your name, asking only that you awaken. Not in frantic striving, but in receptive stillness, ready to recognize the soft footfall of grace. Now let breathing lengthen. Feel cool air fill your chest. Then float outward, carrying night's residue away. Imagine the spirit tracing a path from horizon to heart, lighting forgotten corridors where boredom settled like dust. You might think faith has thinned, yet every inhale swells hollows you assumed were empty. Each exhale releases a hidden prayer, carrying your desire to begin again. The pulse in your wrist, the warmth along your palms, the quiet cadence of lungs, all testify that divine presence was never absent. Silence simply muffled its familiar tone. As dawn spreads, awareness returns gentle as dew upon grass. Awake, my soul! I will awaken the dawn. Psalm 57:8. These ancient words rose from David's hidden cave, yet rise again within you now. They reveal that praise can bloom in cramped, uncertain spaces. The dawn outside mirrors the dawn unfolding inside your spirit. Answer that summons with a whispered yes. Place bare feet on cool floorboards and sense solid ground beneath, evidence of faithful foundation. Stretch arms toward the ceiling as though reaching toward skies soon to blaze with promise. Allow gratitude to flow first for small mercies. The softness of worn blankets, the taste of clean water, the aroma of coffee beginning to brew. Gratitude loosens the knots that distance tied and clears a passage where hope can travel unimpeded. Then speak aloud or within, "Here I am." Do not wait until confidence returns. Offer availability before certainty arrives, like placing kindling before a spark. Let memory recall moments when guidance met you at unexpected crossroads. That recollection becomes a stepping stone toward today's approach. The same Lord who once steadied trembling knees is present again, eager to exchange restless pacing for purposeful stride, to trade foggy wandering for clear direction. You need not force emotional fireworks. Awakening can feel as subtle as dawn's first shimmer. Trust that small obedience, opening scripture, Humming a hymn, choosing silence over scrolling, is already an act of homecoming. As you move toward the window and watch light gather upon rooftops, repeat within, "My soul rises to meet you." Feel warmth bloom along your chest, fragile yet real. It is the first ember of renewed communion. Guard it gently. Feed it with attentive listening, and refuse to let hurried agendas snuff it out. You have heard the awakening call. Next comes the honest naming of the distance, now shrinking under mercy. You stand at the window and sense a stretch of inner landscape, like fields left fallow through a harsh season, spreading between your yearning and the throne of grace. Rather than masking the ache with ritual bustle, you breathe slow and give the gulf a name. Disappointment, dull fatigue, unconfessed resentment, even secret disbelief, all rise like mist off morning earth once sunlight touches hidden frost. In this candid hour you choose truth over prettiness, because a relationship built on performance chills sooner than one warmed by authentic confession. You speak, perhaps trembling, "I feel far away." Such clarity is not betrayal, it is the first plank in a bridge toward reunion. As the deer pants for streams of water, so your soul longs for God. So Psalm 4:2 this ancient cry legitimizes thirst, teaching that longing is no indictment, but evidence of life still pulsing beneath cracked soil. Now picture a gentle stream threading through tall grass beyond your porch. Its surface mirrors bruised clouds and yet keeps flowing. Unoffended by the sky's turmoil, you let that image carry you. Distance may cloud perception, but divine faithfulness keeps moving toward you, persistent as water seeking low places. You open your journal, or simply the quiet of your mind, and list grievances you harbor, prayers delayed, community wounds, personal stumbles. Each line you write or whisper is a seed of honesty planted in receptive ground. The Spirit, ever midwife to new growth, hovers over these disclosures, ready to turn them into fertile humus for deeper roots. If you confess your sins, He is faithful and just to forgive. So 1 John 1-9, forgiveness here is more than legal pardon. It is a gentle removal of rubble that blocks the living spring within. You might feel tears gather, or maybe only a tightness behind the sternum. Both are welcome signals that barriers are loosening. Notice how, as you relinquish pretense, breathing deepens, shoulders soften, and the quiet between heartbeats starts to hum with possibility. Distance shrinks when honesty stretches out its hand. You remember moments when you disguised struggle behind polished prayers, and how lonely that performance felt. Today you choose candor, trusting that the one who stitched every nerve and memory already knows, already waits, already loves. Lift eyes to the horizon, now blushing with tangerine and gold. Dawn keeps advancing though shadows linger in low corners. Likewise, divine presence approaches despite your remaining uncertainty. Let gratitude arise, for this patience God does not shame slow arrivals. Give thanks, too, for the very capacity to feel longing, proof that your spirit still reaches for relationship rather than settling for numbness. From this honest vantage, begin planning a simple act of return, perhaps reading aloud a familiar psalm, walking beneath rustling trees while voicing gratitude, or lighting a candle and listening for the Spirit's whisper. Commit to one concrete gesture today, small yet sincere, as a declaration that you will not remain stranded in the middle ground. The gap has been acknowledged. The next step is a purposeful pivot, a quiet turning toward gentle light that already grazes your face. You withdraw from the window and let the door close with a muted click, sealing a cocoon of hush where even dust motes drift like prayer. Beyond the glass, the neighborhood stirs. Engines cough, sparrows trade news. But within, everything stills as a pond before the first ripple. This is the quiet turning, the pivot so slight no one else will witness, yet one that realigns the map of your interior life. You decide, here and now, that distance will not dictate destiny. You inhale as though drawing in sunrise, and the flavor of resolve mingles with morning air. Subtle but unmistakable. Turning is not sprinting. You allow muscles to loosen, jaw to unclench, thoughts to slow to the pace of a drifting cloud. The inner critic protests, recalling grand disciplines you failed to sustain. But you meet that voice with a gentle shake of the head. Today your pledge is measured not in complexity, but in constancy. You lift the Bible waiting on your nightstand and run a fingertip along its worn edge. You will read only a handful of verses, yet read them only, letting each syllable land like dew on thirsty earth. In quietness and trust is your strength. So Isaiah 30 receive. Ancient Judah heard this counsel amid looming danger. You hear it now amid buzzing timelines and urgent deadlines. Strength, the verse insists, is birthed not from frantic motion, but from still confidence that God acts while you rest in Him. Picture a sunflower before dawn, heavy head bowed, awaiting warmth. As soon as the rim of light crowns the horizon, the stalk imperceptibly twists, angling petals toward radiance. You mirror that instinct, shoulders realign, attention swivels, soul leans. The shift may register only a fraction of a degree, or yet cumulative moments of such reorientation will redirect your entire day. You whisper, speak, Lord, then fall silent, trusting whatever word arrives, correction, comfort, commission, to surface at the needed hour. Now craft a simple ritual to reinforce the rotation. Perhaps place a cup beneath running water and thank God that mercy too flows fresh each morning. Perhaps trace a cross over your heart before stepping outside, marking that territory as His. Perhaps write a single sentence of gratitude on a sticky note and affix it where your eyes will meet it often. These small movements anchor the larger motion, tethering intention to embodiment. Distance diminishes each time thought translates into holy habit. Feel the difference spreading outward like warmth from a newly lit hearth. Shoulders settle, brow uncurls, pulse evens, perspective widens. You sense the Lord inhabiting this humble shift, affirming that He delights in beginnings no matter how modest. Quiet turning has occurred. Horizon and heart now face the same direction. The next move will be forward, one trusting step at a time, into spaces already bright with promise. You slip on your shoes, feel the laces tighten, and recognize this small act as covenant. Your feet will move in alignment with the quiet turning already made. Trust manifests not only in lifted hands, but in souls set toward obedience. Outside, early sunlight scatters coins of gold across pavement, still damp with night's breath. Each bright fleck seems a promise placed just ahead of your stride, inviting you to collect confidence one step at a time. The world's rhythms may clamor for leaps of achievement, yet heaven smiles upon steady pacing. Faithful, repeatable, real. You start down the path, that threads between budding trees. And every crunch of gravel beneath your shoes becomes percussion for a silent hymn rising in your chest. The cool air bristles with possibility. Even the sparrows appear to nod approval as they flit from branch to branch. You notice how each measured movement, heel, arch, toe, echoes the incremental nature of restoration. Distance eroded slowly through neglect, closeness builds slowly through practiced presence. Trust thrives in this momentum, compounding like interest on a long-standing promise. Commit your way to the Lord, trust in Him, and He will act. See Psalm 37:5. These words summon you to release outcomes while persevering in motion. They whisper that divine hands are already shaping results you cannot yet see. Now you recall past seasons when eagerness outran patience. Goals drafted in bursts of zeal, disciplines stacked like bricks, until the tower toppled beneath its own weight. Today you choose a wiser cadence, informed by the Spirit who knows the terrain ahead. Resolve to engage one sustaining practice, perhaps pausing at midday to breathe a prayer, or closing the day with a whispered examen of gratitude. Let each habit be small enough to sustain yet significant enough to steer. As you walk, picture a lantern swung beside ancient pilgrims on dusty roads. The flame illumined only a few paces, yet each fresh patch of earth became visible precisely when needed. Your journey mirrors that lantern, lit travel. Clarity granted proportionate to obedience. You may not glimpse the distant summit, but you see enough to lift foot after foot, and that is both mercy and safeguard. What use is panoramic foresight if anxiety chokes joy? The Father gives light in rhythm with readiness, not curiosity. Passing a garden, you pause to watch dew bathe along rose petals. They glisten but soon evaporate under rising warmth. Gentle reminder that today's grace is designed for today's steps. Tomorrow's portion will arrive with dawn. Fretting for it now only burdens the heart. So you loosen shoulders, inhale cedar, tinged breeze, and practice relinquishment, the meeting outcome, the family tension, the gritty unknown of your own growth. Each concern you release lifts like a balloon, clearing sightlines for present beauty. Trust also calls you to community. You draft a simple message to a friend. Would you pray with me this week? And press send, acknowledging that shared pilgrimage strengthens resolve. The vulnerability feels risky, yet within seconds relief spans your chest. Partnership halves the weight of distance. You recognize that God often answers prayers for nearness through the embodiment of others who walk beside you, reflecting His gaze when yours falters. The path bends homeward. You turn, warmed now not only by sunlight, but by a quiet certainty that the one you seek walks in cadence with you, matching each stride. Shoes dusted, lungs clear, spirit awake, you step through your doorway carrying a subtle radiance. Trust has moved from concept to kinetic grace, and the next breath you draw is steeped in assurance that intimacy grows whenever you risk belief again. You stand in the quiet kitchen, kettle humming, and notice how every swirl of steam curls upward like a silent psalm. You cup the mug, feeling warmth seep through porcelain into your palms, and realize nearness is sometimes as simple as shared air. The presence that once felt continents away now presses close, closer than heartbeat, closer than thought, filling the very oxygen you draw. Each inhale carries subtle assurance, each exhale releases the residue of former distance. You slow your breathing intentionally, 4 counts in, a gentle pause, 4 counts out. The practice is humble, yet within it pulses an ancient rhythm. The same spirit, wind that hovered over primal waters, that stirred desert tents, that whispered through upper room shutters. As lungs expand, you picture spale rooms inside your soul, flinging open windows, curtains billowing with fragrant dawn. Space you had assumed vacant awakens, alive with soft conviction and sweeter comfort. He breathed on them and said, "Receive the Holy Spirit." Say John 20:22. The risen Christ gave intimacy not by sermon but by breath, evidence that communion is transferred through presence, not performance. The verse assures you that the very act of breathing can become sacrament when welcomed with trust. Now sense how inhalation gathers courage the way leaves gather light, how exhalation surrenders worry like autumn trees, releasing brittle remnants. Let memories surface of time's divine closeness surprised you, perhaps a hymn echoing in a crowded subway, or a sudden tear while reading familiar verses. Those moments were previews. This morning they mature into sustained companionship. Move slowly through the room, touching ordinary objects, a wooden spoon, a faded photo on the fridge, a chipped plate, and bless each one. You, bless the labor of my hands. You, guard the stories held in this picture. You, nourish bodies that gather at this table. Such spoken benedictions turn the mundane into cathedral aisles, reminding you that intimacy is not found only in lofty quiet, but woven through tactile life. Then stretch the window sash, let early breeze slide in, carrying hints of jasmine and city morning. Feel strands of hair lift, skin prickle, spirit widen. Whisper, fill every corner. Trust that the same breath animating galaxies gladly inhabits your smallest square foot of space. You no longer chase closeness, you host it. Finally, set one guiding intention for the hours ahead. Whenever tension tightens jaw or schedules compress spirit, return to this breathing prayer. Inhale, near. Exhale, here. The mantra anchors you to reality. Distance was never structural, only perceptual, and perception can shift with a single mindful respiration. Keep the kettle's soft hiss as memory marker. When you hear similar sounds throughout the day, bus brakes, office vents, classroom projectors, let them nudge you back to slow, sacred air. Lift face toward ceiling as sun spills across tiles, and smile. Not a loud triumph, but a settled gladness. The God who felt inaccessible has proven hospitable, furnishing your inner house with quiet fire. You carry that warmth now, a portable sanctuary glowing behind ribs, ready to brighten hallways, emails, whispered encouragements. And as breath continues its patient cycle, you taste the promise that renewed communion will overflow into renewed purpose. The subject of the flame, soon to be rekindled. You step over the threshold into the unfolding day, carrying a glow kindled in hush and honesty, and immediately the world greets you with its jangle of news alerts, clatter of dishes, and half-finished conversations. Yet beneath the surface noise runs a steady current, the intimate breath you welcome now, fanning a steady flame inside your chest. You walk differently, head lifted, gaze softened, because you know nearness is not fragile but portable. Each hallway becomes a corridor of purpose. Each task, whether drafting emails or wiping crumbs, is a chance to translate communion into contribution. Remember how distance once numbed perception. Now attentiveness returns like awakened senses after rain. You notice the harried co-worker whose smile falters, the cashier whose shoulders slump beneath invisible weight, the neighbor whose trash cans linger at the curb. You understand that renewed mission rarely begins with grand crusades. It starts with small mercies delivered where need intersects presence. So you choose to greet with genuine warmth, to linger long enough to ask a second question, to lift a silent prayer as naturally as breathing. Compassion, now lit within, seeks outward channels the way spring rivers rush to nourish thirsty plains. You also guard your interior fire. Midday pressures may swirl, agendas may balloon, but you resolve to punctuate hours with mini, returns a 30-second closing of eyes before a meeting, a whispered, near. Here, while waiting at a red light, a stroll beneath trees after lunch to feel pulse align with wind-bent branches. These pauses are lamp oil. Without them, flame dims. Schedule becomes servant rather than tyrant when you weave Sabbath moments through ordinary minutes. In conversation, you practice the courage of blessing. Where gossip threatens, you redirect talk toward gratitude. Where cynicism spikes, you contribute possibility. Where despair seeps, you offer the memory of mercy encountered at dawn. Not every seed will sprout immediately, yet you trust growth to the same faithful hands that shortened your distance. Your role is sowing, harvest is God's delight. As afternoon shadows lengthen, you reflect on progress not in numbers, but in fidelity. Did you stay attuned? Did you return to breath? Did love move from theory to gesture? Even missteps serve learning. Each lapse into distraction teaches quicker recalibration. When evening comes, you will lay down knowing intimacy expanded rather than contracted. And should distance whisper again tomorrow, you already possess the map back. Awakening call, honest distance, quiet turning, trusting steps, intimate breath, renewed mission. The rhythm is yours now. A heartbeat pattern guiding feet and focus. Sunlight warms your back as you lock the door behind you and head into streets alive with promise. You feel the gentle weight of calling, not a burden, but a mantle woven of empathy, hope, and resolve. The God who once felt remote now partners every stride, inviting you to illuminate cubicles, classrooms, kitchens with the same radiance that found you at dawn. You walk on, flame steady, mission clear, distance defeated. Pause and notice the quiet victory. Within you began this dawn feeling far, yet now you stand commissioned by closeness itself. Breathe once. Feel warmth expand, and remember that today's purpose is simply to let that warmth travel through words, gestures, and decisions. When distraction arrives, return to breath. When fatigue whispers, recall light on dew, washed rooftops. When doubt stirs, revisit the map of honest turning. Carry tenderness like a lantern, letting its glow touch every shadow you meet. Now rest one moment in silence, cradle the gift of nearness, and step forward in peace.